You signed the binding legal documents and cleared any regulatory hurdles necessary for closing your round. You won't see that money in your bank account right away. Why? It's all because VCs are subject to a process called capital calls. Picture this, you're in talks with a fund that manages $1 billion in AUM. Let's say they've already invested $500 million, leaving them with another $500 million in dry powder. But here's the catch. They don't have that entire $500 million sitting in their checking account. They need to go through a process known as capital calls to access that money from their LPs. Once VCs have received that cash from their LPs, they can actually fund your deal. Typically, the capital call process takes about 2 weeks with an additional 2-week grace period. You might not see that money hit your bank account until a month after you sign the deal. Before you start requesting wires, you need to send an updated cap table to all the investors who are part of your round. This cap table should be precise, specifying the exact number of shares each investor will receive and the exact wire amount, typically in dollars. If you're not a US company, pay close attention. Many funds may initially present term sheets with legal docs with values in local currency, but when it comes time to funding, they'll prefer to use US dollars because their bank account is typically in the US. This approach helps the investor mitigate any foreign exchange risk. For instance, if your company is in Mexico, your investors might discuss your valuation in pesos during the term sheet phase. Then they'll establish a mechanism to calculate the exchange rate at the time of funding. Depending on your market and currency volatility, this may have a minor impact on the final amount you receive. Always make sure to call your investors to confirm the wire details. Verify everything from the exact dollar amount to routing and account numbers. They'll connect you with somebody from their treasury department for a chat over the phone. It helps prevent fraud. Sometimes, instead of one single closing, you can break down your funding into multiple dates. You get one portion of the capital today, another chunk a few months later, and so on. This strategy is known as tranching. Investors have incentives to push for tranching for several reasons. First, they might not have all the capital at hand, or they could have some internal limitations on how quickly they deploy funds within a specific quarter, so they prefer to spread out their investments. Second, investors are laser focused on maximizing their IRR, or internal rate of return, which is the North Star metric that funds use to track performance and raise further funds from their LPs. If VCs can negotiate to wire you the money at a later date, it shortens the amount of time that their capital is locked up in your company, and thus boosts their IRR. As an entrepreneur, you should consider accepting tranche rounds if it doesn't negatively impact your business. Whether you get half the money now and half in 6 months, or some other arrangement, it's all about matching your financial needs with the dynamics of the rounds. Sometimes, this can be the icing on the cake that makes the math work for the investor and seals the deal. This brings us to the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.